Can USC hold on to the number one recruiting class all the way through National Signing Day?
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into The Portal. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst and writer. Thank you for making The Portal your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to get all the latest happenings in the recruiting world, NIL, and the transfer portal. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com. Today's show is going to be one about USC's recruiting class and using them as a barometer of how you not only build a class, but keep it all the way through signing day. There are a few points that I'm going to use for them that are a little more specific to the Trojans, but overall, this is a blueprint for how a team can win big time on the recruiting trail and build the future through their high school recruiting specifically. And you can always supplement through NIL and the transfer portal when you need, but if you win big, chances are you're probably going to do it through the high school ranks. If you look at the college football playoff this past year, key additions, the teams that got there had a few of those, Notre Dame, Penn State, Ohio State, etc., but they did so primarily with the high school rank. And that's what SC's doing now. They've moved away a little bit from the transfer portal. They've had some colossal misses. They've had some guys that weren't invested. And I think Lincoln Riley and his staff have changed their barometer. So I'm going to give you four things towards the end that I'm going to define more and more. But overall, the number one thing to remember here, you must build through the high school ranks before the reasons and all that. Just overall, if you do not win big at the high school level, having balanced classes, having classes with elite players at critical positions, offensive tackle, corner, etc., you have no shot. And that's why the 26th class for USC is so good. I was looking at some of their rankings, and just for whatever reason, I've got 24/7 pulled up on theirs, and they've got literally USC ranked number one right now. They got 11 commits. They've got guys at defensive end that are elite players like Xavier Griffin. He's got a really high floor, and he's a kid from Gainesville, Georgia, just out of Atlanta. They just got Samat Katianga, a kid that is from Santa Margarita Catholic. A lot of people thought he was going to pick Notre Dame. Texas is involved, and I'm sure this will be a long battle regardless, but he just committed, one of the best players in the country regardless position, another edge guy. They also have Braden Jones out of Chicago, a defensive lineman. I mean, this class is loaded with defensive players, and that doesn't even count Andrew Williams, a local kid that's got a high upside. That's a 6'5", 220 kid. They got 4 defensive linemen they can play on the edge potentially already out of their 11 commits. And they just stole Jonas Williams, the quarterback recruit, again out of Chicago from Oregon. This is a really unique start to what they've done. Now, can they keep it together and do so in a broad variety of ways? Because USC can recruit nationally, but here again are the things that I want to talk about the most. I'm going to give you the first two, and then we'll finish off with something that I know a lot of SC fans will agree with as the final point. But number one, you can't win 7 games at USC this year like you did last year and see things go through. There would be a lot of concerns, if not a coaching change. That's reality. That's not a news flash, but if you're going to win on the recruiting trail here, it's chicken and the egg for some programs, although SC's not quite in that boat. You got to win big to get big-time recruits. Well, SC still has a brand. It's in Los Angeles. It's part of the Big Ten Conference. They've got a head coach who's a pretty darn good recruiter. And quite frankly, they play an exciting brand of football, especially on offense. Kids like it. It shouldn't be that hard. But if they win 7 games this next year, all this that I'm talking about just goes in the dumpster. They will have a mass exodus of some seriously talented players. I guarantee it. That's just the way of the world. It used to be a year or two after, when you had a bad season or a really good season, you would see the impact. Kids now, they will jump ship or they will jump on ship based on what you were doing right away. I don't know why exactly that is, but you have to win now. If you have a really bad season again, you're going to be in trouble. Number two, and this is the hardest one because it's not really Lincoln Riley's fault, and actually it could be due to their success. Kids pick schools based on relationships, period. I hear it all the time. It's constant. There'll be a guy I'm not going to use a specific example. I'm thinking in my head, but there was a guy got fired this past year on a staff. He went to work in the back office at another school. He's not even going to be the position coach, just the back office. The kid that he had committed at the other school he was working at that everybody wanted went to that school, even though that guy wasn't going to be his coach just because he liked him. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be saying a lot of mean things in the comments and stuff about it, and that's fine. You're more than welcome to comment down below. But kids pick relationships and people 99 out of 100 times over the school. Like that or not, that's what they pick it on. And that's not going to change. It's getting stronger each year when I ask kids, hey, what's the reason? I get relationship all the time. So you have to be really careful to predict where kids are going unless you think that coach is definitely going to be there. And sometimes that's hard because if SC has the kind of season this upcoming year, I think they'll be one of the surprise teams in college football. Little note there, I think SC is going to improve quite a bit. If they are, that means you're going to have other teams coming after your coaches. Well, I mean, that's natural. You want to hire people that are successful in any business. SC in this particular case, if they go win 9 or 10 games this year, maybe more, and they're competitive with everybody. Maybe they go to South Bend and knock off the Irish. Maybe they go to the Big Ten title game and play Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State, whoever it is. If they can do something like that, then they solidify themselves as a top brand. There's going to be NFL coaches that look to make a few calls to Lincoln Riley, and there's going to be some college coaches too. Hey, I'm going to interview your guy, do my blah, blah, blah. That's just how this works. But if they can keep their key coaches, that is a major, major factor. When we come back, I want to talk about two other things that are really important for USC or any other program. If you're going to have that top class or even a top 5 class, if you don't do these two things, it's not going to happen for you. That is next here on The Portal. March basketball is here, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With PrizePicks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Fast, easy, and keeps every game exciting. One of the best things about it, even on Tuesdays, Taco Tuesdays, PrizePicks even offers weekly promos where you get discounted player projections for even more value. You get fast payouts too. When you win, you get your money in your account in as little as 15 minutes, so you don't have to wait around. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 off after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. And this show is also brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get on than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine live bets into a same-game parlay. Here's an example. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game more exciting. Whether you're going to look at a late game shot, you're trying to pick a quarter, or a player you think is going to go over or under, FanDuel is a great way to make it happen. Right now, with new FanDuel customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your one shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, 2 more points about keeping an elite class. I already talked about you got to win. Kids will jump off that ship really quick. And also talking about doing your best to keep your staff together. Part of that's luck. I don't deny that, but if you're going to win, you got to pay. Sometimes you got to overpay. We'll see what USC and other teams do that have great seasons. That's something we'll come back to probably October and November as the coaching carousel, at least behind the scenes, gets rolling. But for now, here's the one thing that I think a lot of head coaches hate, and the ones that put up with it and embrace it will also be the ones that have the top classes in early December. Head coach being directly involved with the recruit, especially when you get down to like 2 or 3 schools. I don't care if he's committed, uncommitted, has taken OB, not, whatever. On the phone, directly with the recruit, having meetings with them, Zoom calls, whatever it is, they have to be able to go out and get in these kids' ears in one way, shape, or form. Sometimes they like to text with kids. Every person's different. You have to adjust to the player, not the other way around. Coaches oftentimes hate that. Too bad. Do it either now or you can think about it when you're unemployed. You must recruit at an elite level as a head coach now. The guys that don't are very few and far between. And outside of this situation, like in North Carolina with Belichick, I don't expect him to be texting at 7:30 in the morning a lot. That's just my guess. You can work around it for somebody like that, but there are very few cases like Bill. Most head coaches, they have to be able to do one thing and one thing clearly, and that is make sure they communicate with the elite recruits constantly. You adjust to it how it's needed. Maybe it's meeting with parents, whatever. But if they're not going to win big. And then finally, this is one that, again, I hinted at this earlier. Doesn't matter what state you're in. I mean, in this case, for SC, it's really important because of the state they're in. You must win the elite battles in your backyard. For a long time, the state of California has seen a mass exodus. Kids going to Oklahoma, kids going to Georgia, kids going to Florida, kids going to the Midwest, Ohio State, Michigan, whatever. Too many of them have left. Now, so far in this class, NIL is a big part of it, I know, and I'll touch on that a little more momentarily, but SC's put in the effort. They went and hired Chad Bowden. They got Dre from Illinois. They did a really good job in their back office. Okay, that's great. Their staff is obviously recruiting hard too, but it's not like anybody's going to stop recruiting California. Texas and Texas A&M in particular have really made it an effort. I believe the Aggies even have 3 commitments from California already, even though SC has a number 1 state or number 1 class. It's a great year in California. This will be a barometer, not just for this year, but long term for how SC recruits. If you are not capable of recruiting at an elite level in your backyard, most often, there's really rare exceptions, you do not have a shot at a number 1 class or even a top 3. SC this year not only has a chance to have the number 1 class, but they need to set it up for the long term that they're going to be a major power. All those things I talked about, head coaching effort, obviously you got to pay your staff so guys don't leave. If I'm right and they have a really good year, I think they will. They'll have more than a few phone calls. Hey, I want to interview this guy. You're going to have to pay for some of these guys. NFL money, you're going to have to overpay for what the college level is in some cases. Too bad. It's either that or they leave, and chances of you losing recruits goes right along with them. And then finally, again, you just got to win. So those are some of the keys to recruiting. And just to apply it to another school, not every team is in an elite state or whatever. You can also apply it to a major city nearby. Wisconsin, they got to recruit Chicago better. A team like Penn State, they've got a good state locally in Pennsylvania, but it's not California. They got to get a couple kids from somewhere in New Jersey that are elite. It shouldn't be that hard. It's Rutgers. They got to get a couple kids from Maryland, even though the Terrapins now have an incredibly high level NIL package. For a lot of these kids, they got to win some more Maryland battles. Whatever it is, your local area, you have to overcome to get those top classes. There's a lot of examples. You can apply it to whatever school you root for. If you're not winning locally, you're not going to have that top class. Thank you once again for making the portal your first listen each and every day. I truly appreciate it. Make sure you come back and see us again. Hit that subscribe button and make sure that you share this podcast. I love having it. It's a lot of fun talking about all the different things with roster management, NIL, transfer portal, and again, my favorite thing, recruiting. Going to do it every day. Everybody have a good one. I'll see you soon.